All right, guys, good evening. My name is Robert Douglas. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at Tuskegee University. And welcome to week 3 of our Financial Aid Summer Zoom sessions. Today, we're going to be speaking about funding sources. I know many of you may have been waiting on this one, or hopefully you guys are already familiar with most of the funding options out there, but just in case, we wanted to make sure we provided you some information. Before we get started, in light of the situation that our nation is in with this pandemic and other trying times, I'd like to take a moment of silence for anyone who may have been sick themselves or had some family members go through some situations. If you could just for a few seconds have a moment of silence with me, I'd appreciate it. All right. Thank you for helping me to recognize those individuals. But as I mentioned before, I'm going to move forward in respect of your time and everyone else's. Financial Aid Summer Zoom session funding sources. Before I get started with some of those sources, I want to make sure those parties involved with me. We have Mr. Advergus James here. Mr. James is our Executive Director of Financial Aid, my boss. Mr. James, if you could just say a few words.
Good evening and welcome to our, as Mr. Douglas said, our third in a series of 4 Zoom meetings regarding financial aid. We're going to try to bring you some information which will hopefully make the transition from high school to Tuskegee University or returning students, let you know what's available. And hopefully you get some good ideas out of this. And if not, then you can still get a chance to follow up with emails to our financial aid staff. But I want to welcome each and every one of you to this very important session. And hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. James. All right, so we're going to cover some options that you have for paying for your education at Tuskegee University. We'll also have Ms. Winston on, who is going to help me manage this chat session. So if you guys do have any questions or concerns or things that come up, we're going to make this more like a conversation as usual. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And we're going to make sure we address everyone's questions this evening. But please, for organization purposes, make sure you put the questions in the chat so we can actually address those issues, okay? All right. So other important information before I move forward with the process, everyone knows or should know. If you don't know, I'm about to tell you, the fall semester for the 2020 academic year, 2020-2021, begins August 11th. All faculty and staff conference will be on the 10th of August. So everyone should be available at no later than that date. For you to have access to. Move-in days for new students is August 5th for anyone who's going to be staying on campus. Returning students, move-in day is August 8th through the 9th. Pay attention to those dates and the difference between them. The last day of fall semester classes will begin on Tuesday, November 18th. That's the last day of classes. Final exams will be held November 19th through November 21st. Okay, so important dates. Make sure that you check online. If you go to tuskegee.edu, there's a link on that first page to our COVID site. We have a COVID-19 update site for all communications coming from the university located there. You'll also find our return to campus information on that same page. There's a link to a particular page for that as well. So any questions you have about the pandemic on with our university this fall semester, you can find that information and communications from President McNair and the University Student Affairs Department and other departments on that particular site. Again, that's the coronavirus, the COVID-19 update, as well as our return to campus information. You can find that on our website at tuskegee.edu. All right, so how do we pay for school? We've gotten into Tuskegee University. Great, congratulations, guys. But there is another step. You've done everything you need to do academically to get into school. Now, you just need to make sure that you have enough funding to cover your education. This is an investment that you're making in your future, but you cannot necessarily just do that with out-of-pocket funding all the time. Or even if you can, you may not choose to. So let's go over some different options you have for covering your expenses at Tuskegee University. So you have grants, scholarships, loans, and of course, employment. All of this is considered financial aid, okay? These are the types of financial aid. That's anything to help cover your educational expenses. So the first thing I want you to know pertaining to gaining grants from the federal government, the first thing you need to do is complete your FAFSA. I cannot stress enough how important that is. You never know what you're going to qualify for federally from the Department of Education until you complete this free application for federal student aid. You can find it at studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov is kind of a central site now for any federal funding concerns or questions or research, or even to complete any applications or other documents that you may need in order to help process your federal aid. Studentaid.gov. Please complete your FAFSA annually. This is important. The information you'll need to complete your FAFSA is prior year income data from your tax return. That means they go back 2 years to get income information. So for instance, for this fall 2020 semester, the income information from annual year 2018 is required to complete that FAFSA. So that's both parents and students. You get your student aid report 2 to 3 weeks after submitting a valid FAFSA, which lets you know what aid you would qualify for. So what aid would you qualify for off of completing a FAFSA? Well, here it is. The aid that you can qualify for grant-wise would be, and just to tell you the difference between grants and loans, grants and scholarships, you know, this is all funding you do not have to pay back, right? It's called gift aid, okay? So gift aid that you can get from the federal government are grants like the Pell Grant, the Teach Grant, the FSCOG grant, which is a special education opportunity grant from the federal government. You have federal work study, and there could be some other federal grants that you could qualify for as well, but these are the main ones for undergraduate students. Other types of aid that you will qualify for federally, you have your loans. Now this, you definitely have to pay back. I want to make sure that everyone knows that eventually this is going to have to be paid back. This is borrowed money, okay? So this is a necessary resource at times, most of the time, but I want to make sure that all students and parents are borrowing wisely. So remember, always remember that you have to pay this money back at some time. So students, grad and undergrad, sometimes parents too, this doesn't mean that this is your opportunity to buy new cars unless you definitely need that transportation, okay? This is not that opportunity to buy jewelry and some other luxury items, and some I won't mention, students, but this is not that time for you to take advantage of that. This is for supporting your education. So if you need a certain amount to be able to pocket some funding to support your transportation or your living expenses or buying books, things of that nature, you know, that's understood, but you need to make sure that you maintain a budget and you not overdo it, okay? But some of the loans that you can borrow from the federal government are federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans, and let me tell you the difference between those. Subsidized loans are loans you can get from the federal government that are need-based. These loans have an interest that's covered by the federal government while you're in school. So most of you may or may not know that you can defer payment on any federal loans upon graduation. So this up to 6 months after the student graduates, you can begin payment on that loan. But understand that on unsubsidized loans, that interest is accruing while you're in school. That begins to accrue the first disbursement for that loan. So as soon as the federal government sends the institution money, as soon as they send us Tuskegee funding, that interest begins to accrue. So that's the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans. For the Parent Plus loans, it works just like the unsubsidized loans. Same thing for Grad Plus loans. So those are the differences, but these are some great resources. Interest rates are usually pretty good. You can check those out at studentaid.gov if you want to, and I would suggest this, if you want to research what those loan fees and interest rates are, you can get that information from studentaid.gov. It does change yearly. Sometimes it goes up a percentage, sometimes it goes down. Usually it's a very small amount, but sometimes it does change. So I would advise that you go out to studentaid.gov, do that so you can compare to some other aid options that you're looking into. Studentaid.gov. In addition to this, I'll need to let you know that if you're going to do a subsidized loan or unsubsidized loan as an undergraduate student, and you have never borrowed while at Tuskegee University, then you need to complete entrance counseling, okay? This is the federal government's way of letting you know what it means to borrow money from them in particular. You also will need to complete a master promissory note. All of this is also done at studentaid.gov. A master promissory note is a promise that you're making to pay the money back. Master promissory note, otherwise known as MPN, and entrance counseling for new borrowers, okay? This is all needed for your loans to process to Tuskegee University. If you don't do this, we don't get the money, and that money doesn't come off of your balance at Tuskegee, so that means you still owe whatever amount you expected that to cover. So let's make sure we do this, guys. Parents and graduate students on these plus loans, you need to complete MPNs for these plus loans as well. And sometimes, if you have adverse credit or not, they may require you to also do plus credit counseling. So I would just go ahead and get that out of the way too. Plus credit counseling and your master promissory notes for these Grad Plus and Parent Plus loans. Let's make sure we do this so this aid will process. All right, so of course, we just finished talking about the federal aid that you will qualify for. These are grants and federal loans. Well, what other reasons would you need to complete a FAFSA? I'm glad you asked, I'm about to tell you. So schools, in this instance, Tuskegee University, put together your financial aid packages. But other states and outside organizations also look at this data, this financial aid information, the things you put on your FAFSA, to make a determination about your eligibility for their aid as well. So if you're applying for scholarships to other organizations, they ask for information that's included on your FAFSA and on your student aid report, or the institution's report. The report that we get is your ICER. Sometimes they'll ask you as a student or parent. Sometimes they will ask the institution directly. So you need to complete your FAFSA, make sure you add Tuskegee school code, which is 00105, so we can actually get that report and be able to give those organizations that information. So even if you don't feel like you're going to get much from the federal government, or if you feel like you're only going to get loans and you don't want to borrow anything, please still go ahead and complete the FAFSA so we can commit to submitting that required information to other organizations that require that feedback, okay? So that is another reason for you to complete the FAFSA, in addition to you being able to get federal aid. All right, so let's talk about other outside grants and scholarships. I'm sure this is the moment most of you have been waiting for, but you'll come to find resources are actually there at your fingertips, or at your mouse clicks, in several different ways. So let's go over some of these outside grants and scholarship opportunities that you may have. The first one I want to point out is a partnership that we have, actually two partnerships, one with the United Negro College Fund and also with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. These are two major partnerships that we have at Tuskegee University that I would definitely recommend you look into. It's so much so that we're probably going to be making this a requirement for every student who's entering our institution. There's just so much opportunity out there through both of these organizations. They give away, especially UNCF, they give away dollars every year. They have other organizations who funnel money through them. If you go to their website, uncf.org, you will be able to complete that application, see some of our scholarship opportunities that they have available. Same thing for Thurgood Marshall, tmcf.org. You'll be able to view those opportunities, fill out general applications, and also search for other opportunities on their site. They also have contact information for different opportunities, and each of those opportunities may have different contacts, but you'll have to just basically research to see what that's about. I think it's important that you know you need to not only do the general applications, but other scholarship opportunities may require you to submit additional data in addition to another application. So don't just stop at the general application with these organizations. Make sure you do some thorough research so you can take advantage of the opportunities that are available for you. Don't be the one to miss out on them. You know, we get feedback from these organizations all the time about students just not taking advantage of the application processes or opportunities. So let's get those numbers up when it comes to those applications that we submit for these opportunities. All right. If you are an incoming freshman, this is your first year, fall will be your first year at Tuskegee University. There are opportunities for merit scholarships, okay? This is academic merit. So there's the Distinguished Presidential, the University Merit, University Achievement. There's also the Alabama Incentive Grant and the Tuskegee University Grant. If you are an incoming student as a freshman and you feel that you should have gotten one of these scholarship opportunities, please feel free to call the admissions department. The admissions department is the one who actually administers and awards these scholarships, okay? We award them in financial aid, but they are managed and given and awarded through the admissions department, okay? These are incoming student scholarships. The admissions number is 334-727-8500. That's their main line. Front desk, change the last 4 to 8289. You can reach someone, your particular counselor, financial aid recruiter, admissions recruiter, to ask specific information about these scholarships. They do require, you'll see that they're renewable, but you'll also see what the requirements are at the end to get those scholarships renewed. You can get these scholarships for 4 years. They are renewable for 4 years. So your first year, second, third, and fourth years, you can get these scholarships as long as you maintain that GPA and complete 30 credit hours every year, okay? We make the evaluation to determine eligibility for renewal at the end of the spring semester. I think this year we're also going to be doing some evaluating at the end of the fall semester. But just keep in mind that's 15 hours per semester on average that you'll need to complete. If you don't complete the full credit hours in the fall, you can complete the other credit hours in the spring to make up for them. If you don't still have the combined credit hours, you can make it up in the summer, okay? Understand that the scholarship is not available in the summer. Though you can take makeup courses in the summer, scholarship's not available. All right, but these are for incoming students. Transfer students, if you're interested in an incoming scholarship, you may not be eligible for all of these, but I'm going to take you through our website in a second to show you that there are opportunities for transfer students as well, and you can look at particular ones for your category. In addition to the academic and merit scholarships, I want everyone to know that we have scholarships available in all of these athletic fields. So there's baseball, We have men and women's basketball. We have men and women's cross country for track and field. We also have football, women's softball. We have men and women's tennis. We have men and women's track and field. We have women's volleyball. These are all sports that we have on campus that offer scholarship opportunities to students, whether they be full ride or partial. Every little bit counts, right? So if you were participated in these activities in high school or in whatever year, and you feel that you're good enough to play that sport and you plan to play that sport, then you also need to speak with them about scholarship opportunities, especially if you already plan to be involved in athletics. Go ahead and reach out to that particular coach. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes how to navigate our website. I think we've got a couple of questions coming in. All right, so after finals, someone asked what happens after finals. After finals, you will not be on campus. You actually will be going back home, is my understanding. However, if you're going to be continuing as a student in the spring semester, I would probably recommend that you check our student affairs office or check the return to campus site, but check with our student affairs office or our housing department. We have a housing and residential life department that you can actually contact. If Ms. Winston, if you would, I see that you put admissions contact information in the chat. If you would also put housing contact information in the chat so they can contact them to see what the plan will be after finals. So I don't want to put information out there that's not accurate. So it's better if you contact that department to get that feedback. All right, so someone asked if you could do the credit counseling now for loans. So a parent and student, you can do the credit counseling now. If you remember, it's credit counseling if you're doing it for a Parent Plus loan as a parent or grad student for a Grad Plus loan. You can do credit counseling now. You can do your master promissory notes now. That's for all loans for master promissory notes. If you're an undergrad student, you're doing unsub or subsidized loans, you can go ahead and do your entrance counseling now as well. All right, so okay, let me specify. The incoming scholarships are for incoming undergraduate students, not graduate students. Someone asked a question about vet med and other graduate programs. These are for, and let me go back to the slide so I can be specific. These scholarships, these are freshman admission scholarships. These are only for undergraduate students, okay? Sometimes we have some transfer or undergraduate students who have dual credit or AP credits or enough credits to where they don't necessarily need it for 4 years. And they decide, they actually finish their undergraduate degrees in 3 years. Well, you still have 4 years for that scholarship. So if you go into a grad school program right after undergrad, you still have 1 year of scholarship availability. And that would include graduate programs and vet med. But if you're entering as a vet med student, these scholarship opportunities are not available to you. I would encourage you to contact the vet school. Look on the website, call them, speak with them in person, whatever you need to do to get some financial resources for their programs. All right, someone asked if you received the Alabama Incentive Scholarship. Do you also receive the Tuskegee University grant? Thank you, Ms. Winston. No, so these scholarships cannot be combined, okay? It's one or the other. You cannot, the admissions department is not going to permit you to receive multiple admission scholarships or multiple academic scholarships or grants, okay? It's going to be one or the other. All right, someone said they were told to go online to the government website to have your credit checked, but you were confused about where to go. So they were probably suggesting that you get your credit checked for a Grad Plus loan if you're a graduate student. And I think this is a vet med student who asked that question. So when you go to studentaid.gov and you fill out an application for a Grad Plus loan, they will do a credit check on you. That's how they, and this is the same thing for the Parent Plus loan. So if you complete a Parent Plus loan or a Grad Plus loan application, they're going to do a credit check. And you have to include your social security number, birth date, name, etc. Information for the counseling is on the same site, studentaid.gov, and that's for insurance counseling or credit counseling. Okay, if you're asking if you can switch from the Alabama Incentive Grant to the Tuskegee University Grant, remember that it's all according to what the admissions department provides you, okay? And you might look at that in a little more detail. The Alabama Incentive Grant, if you're staying on campus, actually comes out to be a little more funding than that Tuskegee University Grant, because housing, it's about $2,000 or so per semester at minimum. So it's going to be about $9,000 total or more, over $9,000 for the Alabama Incentive Grant when it comes to the tuition coverage and the housing coverage. So I don't know if you want to necessarily move to the Tuskegee University Grant unless you're staying off campus. So there would be something to speak with the admissions department about, though. All right, so if the family's not comfortable with the child being on campus due to COVID-19, the only way, if you decide for your child not to be on campus, to be either virtual or living off campus, the only scholarship that would impact would be, well, two scholarships: the Presidential Scholarship and the Alabama Incentive Grant housing portion, because those particular aids are specific to housing, and it's only for dorms that are on Tuskegee's campus. So if you plan to be off campus, that student lives off campus or does virtual learning, they would not get the housing portion of that Alabama Incentive Grant scholarship. They also would not get the housing portion of the Presidential Scholarship because it does not apply. All right. All right, so again, I'll reiterate, and we'll come back to questions again, but I do want to move forward to cover some more information. Scholarship opportunities for athletics and all of these categories, go to our website, tuskegee.edu. Under admissions and aid, you click on scholarships. You can find out about all of these scholarship opportunities. Under admissions and aid, click on scholarships. And athletic scholarships are listed. You will find the contact information for each one of these sports as well. So, and that's address. Thank you, Ms. Winston. If you are approved for a loan, do you have to take the full amount? No. If you're approved for freshmen, it will be $3,500 in subsidized loan money, $2,000 in unsubsidized, or sometimes it may be a combined $5,500 in unsubsidized loan money. Regardless, freshmen will be $5,500 total. You do not have to borrow that full amount, okay? And it increases by another $1,000 your sophomore year, and then another $1,000 your junior year. And juniors and seniors can earn the same or qualify for the same amount of loans. There's additional funding you can qualify for as well. If you have a parent, if you're a dependent student and you have a parent that gets denied the PLUS loan, you can get an additional $4,000 if you're a freshman or sophomore, an additional $5,000 if you're a junior or a senior. If you're an independent student, you automatically qualify for that additional amount. All right. But I think the question again was, let me look at it. If you're approved, do you have to borrow that full amount? That answer is no. You can borrow up to that amount that you qualify for. So you would just specify on your federal direct loan application, which is an internal document at Tuskegee University, how much you actually want to borrow for that loan type. And you would submit that to us in financial aid, and we would award the appropriate amount and process the appropriate amount to your account. All right, so another type of outside scholarship or grant would be through one of our ROTC programs. Don't know if you knew or not, but we have ROTC programs on campus in 3 different branches. We have Army, Air Force, and Naval ROTC, and they all offer scholarship opportunities. Now, usually it's not offered to freshmen unless you have some prior conversation or communication with them, and they've been tracking you for a while. You guys have been talking about requirements. You've done some things for them already. You may have had some situation already set up, but usually you would have to come through in your freshman year to take their course and earn a scholarship opportunity, which is usually awarded in your either second semester, freshman year, or your sophomore year. They do backtrack. So when it comes to giving scholarship opportunities, if you earn it your sophomore year, sometimes they do go back and try to cover some aid in your freshman year. That would strictly be between you and that representative from the ROTC department. Again, if you go to our website, tuskegee.edu, under admissions and aid, click on scholarships, you can get to ROTC, and they have contact information for each one of those branches if you want to have that conversation. Thank you, Ms. Winston. She's posted in chat contact information. She put studentaid.gov site there. She's put admissions contact information. She put housing information in the chat. And now she's also put the athletic director's information if you need to contact that particular department. I will say that you can contact the athletic director's department for general queries, but if you're wanting information pertaining to a particular scholarship for a sport, you would need to contact that particular coach. And that, again, is on our website. All right, so we have other available scholarship opportunities available as well. Computer science scholarship program. We have endowed scholarships in the departments of engineering, business administration, and also our Canes department, which is the College of Agriculture and the College of Agriculture, Environment, and Nutrition Sciences. That's why we call it Canes. We also have some other external scholarships and their websites listed on our website. You can go to the actual link for those scholarship opportunities. We have the Chameleon John Scholarship, Shamari Asim Foster Scholarship. We have transfer student scholarships as well. Something else I want to mention before I move on from other available scholarship opportunities is a scholarship/grant opportunity you could gain if you have been in foster care. And again, this is something you need to complete your FAFSA for, because if you've ever been in foster care, you would have specific scholarship opportunities and grant opportunities available for you that other students may not have access to. If you have been in foster care before in your life, please answer yes to that question on the FAFSA, okay? They give you a website that you can visit to find resources for that information. All right. Now, you may not always get scholarship or enough funding to help cover all of your expenses for school, right? So I told you about federal loans that you can borrow. Well, outside of federal, there are opportunities for private loans. Now, instances you may want to use private loans in would be if you're a dependent student whose parent gets denied the Parent Plus loan. So your additional amount may not be enough to cover all of your expenses. Well, you as a student can apply for a private loan yourself. This will be in your name. Now, lots of times when students are just entering school, they're freshmen, 17, 18 years old, sometimes 16, you may not be able to get it on your own, especially if you don't have credit history. you don't have a history of borrowing or credit, then you wouldn't be able to get a loan by yourself. Well, in times like these, you would be able to get a cosigner or an endorser for that loan, which means that you can get a parent, uncle, cousin, grandmother, grandfather, grandparent, whoever, friend, whoever wants to co-sign with you or is willing to co-sign for you, they can do so. So what a co-signer is, or an endorser, is someone who basically promises to pay the loan back if you fall by the wayside. So if you end up not making your payments, then that person also is responsible for making sure that loan is paid. But this is an opportunity for someone to support you in your pursuit of an education, in your pursuit of higher learning. So this is a list of just some possible opportunities that you would have for some lenders outside of the federal government and Tuskegee University. You can also find this on the financial aid page under important information, and I'll show you how to get there in a second. All right, so in addition to these funding opportunities, you also have the opportunity to set up a payment plan. The bursar office will permit a payment plan for up to $6,000 per semester to be set up to help cover your educational expenses. That's up to $6,000 per semester, so that's up to $12,000 per year between the fall and spring semesters. So to get financially cleared, if you're at the point where you owe somewhere between $1,000 and $6,000, you can set this up on a payment plan. For more questions about it, you can sign up through your TigerWeb account, or you can contact our bursar office at 334-727-8538. Someone asked if the co-signer for either and I forgot to mention earlier that not only can you get a co-signer for private loans, but the federal government offers that as well. So if you are applying for a Parent Plus loan as a parent, or if you're applying for a Grad Plus loan as a grad student and you cannot get approved by your own credit history, or if you have an adverse credit history, you can also get an endorser or co-signer for your loan. Someone asked if they have to be present or can the loan be obtained before the student comes. No, they do not have to be present. The loan can be obtained before the student comes, and we recommend that. Please do that. Please make sure everything is set up before you come to campus. We can make sure that you can just fluidly go into your class schedule, attend your classes. We can make sure that you can move into your dorms if you're going to be staying on campus, because you will not be permitted to do so unless you are financially cleared, okay? So you need to make sure all of this is taken care of as soon as possible. So do it now. If you haven't, sometimes some private lenders take a little longer than others. Usually when you're applying for a Grad Plus or Parent Plus loan with the federal government on studentaid.gov, they don't take that much time to approve or deny you. It'd be up to 24 hours, but it's usually pretty instantaneous. So if you can find out right away, and we get a report within 24 hours letting us know, what that result was, whether or not they approved you or denied you. But no, the co-signers or endorsers don't have to be there. There's actually a process on the federal government site that you would go through to get an endorser to sign for you by sending them an email alert. And then they would sign a master promissory note online, just like you would, because they're endorsing you for that loan. They're saying, I'll pay it if they don't. So there's a process that you can do virtually, and you don't ever have to be in the same place as that person, actually. And most private lenders are. All right. This is our financial aid staff. Of course, I'm the associate director, and I also serve as a counselor. So if your student's last name begins with the letters I through MI, you can contact. Email is usually the best way to contact any of us. And you see the email address is listed there for all of our counselors. You also see that some of us have work mobile numbers. This is because during these times of COVID, this pandemic, Some of us are working remotely, and we're actually on rotation for going to the campus. So you have our mobile numbers there for those of us who do have them that you can reach out to us on. You can also send us text messages, leave us voicemails on those numbers as well. If you call our direct lines, they will roll over to our numbers as well. But if you call our direct line and it rolls over to the mobile numbers, if you don't leave a message, we won't know that it's you that called, because all that shows up is our desk number. So keep this in mind when you're trying to reach out to your counselors. Like I said before, email is the best option. And it gives us some text to actually review and look at to see what your concerns are. We can be prepared when we respond or give you a call back. But this is our contact info. We're located in Margaret Murray Washington Hall, in the same area as admissions, on the ground floor. You can access our offices through the back door of that building, which is the one facing the avenue, the Ave. The Ave is the first street on campus that you reach when you enter the main gates. First street on your right, that's the Ave. Most students and faculty and staff know that if you've been to campus, and you'll get used to that lingo. All right, wondering if we have any more questions at this time. I'm going to, while we answer more questions, and I'm going to also take you through how to navigate the website a little bit so you can look at some different sources financially. But if I want to shoot you this poll to get some feedback from you, just to see what you think about this presentation, the type of medium we use, the fact that it's a Zoom call, the information that's been covered during the session, if it's been helpful. This is just some feedback to help us improve our communication to you, okay? Help me improve my presentation. If I need to add anything, take anything away, things of that nature. You can also shoot me an email at rdouglas with 2 S's at tuskegee.edu for any more detailed feedback if you like to. I'm going to depend on Ms. Winston to shoot me questions. All right, thank you, Ms. Winston. Right now, the offices are closed. We are not open for business. So if you do need to contact someone, it cannot be in person right now. Thank you for reminding me of that so I can let everyone know. You cannot contact us in person. So it has to be via email or phone, okay? If you want to set up a Zoom session one-on-one, I'd be happy to do that. I'm sure other counselors will be happy to do that as well. In the future, we're going to talk about doing something different with that, and we'll let you know when we do. But right now, the offices are not open for business. We are open for business, but we're not open for incoming traffic flow through our office. Okay, you will not be permitted to enter the building right now. And that is because of our pandemic, and we are in the process of making revisions. So everyone will be able to visit at some point as needed. But right now we're not at that place, and we are limiting our communication to email and phone. Yes, so someone asked if we can provide a link to the other sessions for topics that we've covered. We will be doing that. We have not done that yet, but it will be done this week, where the other 2 sessions and this session, which were recorded, will be provided on our website. We'll be providing a link on the financial aid page for these sessions. It will be pretty obvious when you visit that page. You'll be able to access them. We do understand that this is information that, even though you may not have been able to attend one of these sessions at that time, you may want to access it later to review that information. So we do understand that. Thank you for asking that question, so I could tell everyone that they will be accessible on our website this week. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is do a new share with you. So everyone should be seeing my full screen at this point. Mr. James, are you seeing my full screen?
I do. I had to unmute myself first.
You see my full screen?
I did until I unmuted myself. I'm looking again now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our main page, tuskegee.edu. If you go to, well, first of all, I want to point out that we have the notice at the top about our modified operations. You can go to read more for the alert to get to our coronavirus resources page. When you get to this page, you can also click on the return to campus roadmap and facts. But this gives all the university communications about COVID-19 that we've had thus far. If you go to the return to campus roadmap, this gives you some detailed information. It's actually in sections as well. So if you want to know something about the campus-wide health and safety or facilities and what we're doing, you can click that. If you want to know about financial aid, tuition and fees, you can click that. On-campus student frequently asked questions for that. Some of you asked some of those during this session. So this is a resource page for you that you can get to. If you go under admissions and aid, which is really the purpose of me showing you this, you see here, you can go under pay for college. Under our tuition and fees section, we actually you have access to our bursars page. And this will show you how much school costs basically. If you go under tuition and fees and financials, you'll see the 2020, 2021 complete listing of fees, okay? You can open that. Under the same section, admissions and aid, if you click on scholarships, this gives you a listing of some of the scholarship opportunities that I went over. You'll see if you go to ROTC, there's athletics as well. ROTC has the contact information for each branch on there. Going back, I mentioned transfer student scholarships. Click on that, see which opportunities you actually qualify for as a transfer student coming into Tuskegee University. So you see you have the merit scholarship, transfer grant. You also have the transfer incentive grant, Alabama incentive. Under admissions aid, if you click on, under the same section, pay my tuition, this brings you to TigerWeb. If you're not familiar with TigerWeb, please get familiar. This is going to be where lots of operations tasks are housed. So if you're a student, you can log in, you can check your financial information, payments, you can go to that, your account summary, how much you owe. If you need to view your financials, you can do that. If you go down here to financial aid, you can view your financial aid award letter, statuses, etc. If you go to make a payment, pay on my account. I'm not logged in, so I can't do it, but this is where you would go. Coming back to the main page, under admissions and aid, you can also click on financial aid. This brings you to the financial aid page. Any documents and forms that we will need from you, the federal direct loan application, for us to certify your federal loans is here. We also need your TU data form for the 2020-2021 academic year. It's here. If you want to know the rules, rights, and responsibilities for governing financial aid at Tuskegee, that's there. FAFSA information, if you want to get to the FAFSA. So we have resources there for you. We also have, if you go under important information, a private lender list. That's the list I just shared with you, but it's accessible on our website as well. Other scholarships, other types of aid, work study scholarships, grants, loans, explained, takes you to links around the website. One other thing I want to point out to you as a resource for funding is if you go under colleges and schools, academics, many times they'll have scholarship opportunities listed. So if you go to, for instance, the King's department, if you're planning on majoring in some academic coursework under agriculture, environment, or nutrition sciences, they have Office of the Dean, summer programs, et cetera, there, upcoming events. New student contact information, and I'm looking for, it's funny, I just went through this the other day, but the point is play around with the website, go to these department pages, figure out what they're offering so you can take advantage of every opportunity that you have. All right, so how do students give parent access to discussion with school representatives, financial aid or other? That's something called the FERPA Act, okay? The FERPA Act is a form that you would initially fill out if you're on campus. It's one of those forms included. You may be able to get one through admissions, but it's submitted through the registrar office. And that's where the student gives parents access to their records and files, and they can speak freely. Now, in the financial aid office, we can speak freely to any parent that is on that student's FAFSA. If that parent is not on the student's FAFSA, then we are not permitted federally to actually give you any detailed information pertaining to that student's record. But as far as the other department on campus, you would need that FERPA form to fill out. If you're living off campus and the question is, can you still set up a meal plan? Yes. We're actually going to cover some information next week, during next week's session, next Tuesday, our last session, with the Bursar office, who will be on with us as well. The Bursar office will go over some of that additional information. So yes, you can still get a meal plan. I would encourage you to go under admissions and aid, tuition and fees, to see what those meal plans would cost. That information is provided on our website. All right. So it doesn't seem like we have any more questions right now. I appreciate everyone participating in the poll, or most of you, as we have about 88% participation right now. Appreciate that. All right. Well, if there are no other questions or concerns, we thank you for coming out. Mr. James, did you have any closing remarks?
Oh, we enjoyed the participation. We had a large number tonight, and hopefully any other questions you might have, then be sure to tune in next Tuesday, same time, same station at 6 o'clock. Let everybody have a successful week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Stay safe out there, please.